over in the UK with me, and I have Carrie out in northern Utah, and I'm in kind of central Utah, but not quite. Anyway, so Carrie, how you doing?
Good, 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 good. Good to see Dave.
Dave, how are you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing good, Cordell.
Good. Let me introduce everybody. Carrie is Deputy Director of Paranormal Pulse in the U.S. I'm Director in the U.S. Dave is the Director of Paranormal Pulse UK. Dave, you live in Scotland currently.
Yeah.
And like everybody in the world, I guess you're locked down kind of like we are. Nobody's leaving their house
I am today.
That's true. And
yeah, I think it's our third lockdown, or I don't know, lost track.
Yeah. So anyway, this is the initial broadcast. We do a Facebook broadcast, guys, and it's kind of just open discussion, and we might talk about 4 topics, we might talk about one the whole show, and we play some evidence. So what we kind of were thinking about doing on this broadcast is breaking down individual investigations, playing more clips, and some of these might be multiple broadcasts.
All right.
So it is working live, right, Carrie? I take it.
Yeah, that's what I'm checking.
Oh, okay, great. And to let the audience know, guys, we've had glitches. We always do with our Facebook broadcasts, and it's the software we're using, and we're trying to work out some other software. So anyway, if we have technical issues or glitches, we apologize in advance to all the audience members. Just bear with us, hang in there, and be a little patient. We'll get them worked out. So guys, real quick, Dave, you guys haven't been investigating at all lately, right?
Yeah, it was man, it must have been since the last lockdown. I think the team investigated in February 2020, and then it was lockdown since, and we just left it then.
Well, the reason I asked is so part of this broadcast, me and Carrie are looking forward to Dave breaking down some UK investigations, some medieval castle with all kinds of crazy stuff going on that hopefully will happen, and we can break down some of your investigations.
I think that one should be Dave and Craig in this.
Well, and we might be able to do that, yeah. And
I'll drop out to let them talk.
well, like I said, hopefully we can get some other software going where it doesn't have that limitations, because guys, we're limited, just for the audience, we're limited to 4 people. And if you have 4 people on this software, then you can't share screens anymore or show videos or anything. So anyway, as let me so tonight on this one real quick, and I think this is a perfect one to show, guys, because unfortunately we didn't have a lot that occurred on this investigation, and we technically investigated it twice, and that's in Gold Hill, Nevada, the miners' cabin. And we had a good time, I think, each time. And but there's a lot of stories, Dave and Carrie, on the miners' cabin. Ghost Adventures did it, and that's where Aaron had, I guess at that time, one of his most scariest things happen, where he freaked out in the back bedroom. So why don't you guys take it real quick? I'm going to set up some pictures from our first investigation, okay?
Your first investigation?
Which was 2015, and that's where you stayed there, Carrie.
Okay. Yeah, I've been there a couple times, so I'm just trying to get on which the first one you all went to.
Yeah, now, Carrie, that's a good point. You've been there multiple times, right?
Yes, I go every year to Virginia City, and I've investigated a lot of places and stayed a lot of places. So, but miner's cabin. Okay.
I'm almost there, guys.
Oh, well,
So, hey, Dave, does that look familiar?
that's Billy's back of his head. Dave's the head behind.
No. Yeah, there's Dave, but Dave, does this look familiar?
Yeah, mate, I'm not seeing it. I must have some technical difficulties.
Oh, you don't see the pictures?
No.
Really?
Yeah, it should show up on the screen.
Yeah.
It's the carload. Your carload of equipment.
That
Oh,
was
yeah.
We took Dory. She rode with us there, and you guys drove separately.
Yeah, that's right. It was we packed everything we owned, everything we had.
yeah, we
every
did.
every DVR, everything. Yeah.
And the picture that the audience is seeing, this is a full-size SUV, and it's the back seat is packed. This back seat's down, so this is packed all the way. That's how much equipment we took. But I wanted to show this because Dave was really proud of this. And this guy right here is Carrie's husband, and this is Carrie.
Yeah, we recruited him.
And Carrie and Bill were in awe, and they stood there just staring speechlessly.
Yeah. Well, we had our car packed up too, don't forget.
Yeah.
And we had a full-size SUV packed to the brim.
And so the next picture is the miner's cabin itself. It's this little teeny, really, really small. I equate it, I always call it a trailer, you know,
It's a
It was
shed.
like a tin roof.
It's a shed. Reminds me of a shed.
Yeah. And there it is. So Dave, you're not seeing these pictures?
No, mate, I'm not.
Okay, well that's all right.
Can you pull up?
Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just
Facebook on Paul's site.
Not Facebook, but YouTube.
Well, it comes through as a thing on Facebook.
Yeah, I'll just jump on this machine here.
So this is the actual miner's cabin, and I know Carrie has her thoughts on it. I was real excited because, you know, it was on TV and all these claims and stuff, but it is really, really small.
Well, I went and checked it out before the team came out, and a number one that surprised me was how close it was actually to the actual hotel.
True. And I have a picture of that coming up. Carrie, right here, do you want to, because Carrie is also our main historian for Paranormal Pulse. And you see on the side of this building says the Yellow Jacket, and that was the name of the mine. And this was a mechanical room.
Yeah. That's to the, I don't know what direction it is, but it's just a couple 100 yards from the miner's cabin.
Yeah, I was quite surprised how close the shaft was to the cabin.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm sure Cordell will show a picture because the miner's cabin is basically right on top of the shaft to the Yellow Jacket.
And I want to point out this is Dory. And again, Bill, Carrie's husband, and Dave. And Dory was an investigator for Paranormal Pulse at the time, and she came with us. And there's Carrie pointing to what she thought was the outhouse, and then she got disappointed because it wasn't. No, I'm joking. So
there's the head frame right next to it.
Right here, yeah. And what's interesting is, well, Carrie, do you want to tell the story of what happened with this mine?
Well, you're jumping on me, and I got to go back and think. Well, there was an explosion, and it collapsed in itself, and
yeah,
I don't know the exact number, but there were many, many miners buried alive down there, so they're basically entombed into the ground.
Yeah, and
there was no pulling them out.
And I'm not 100% sure, but I thought it was like 17 or 18, or it's in the 20s. I can't remember that they never got him out. And let me get over here. And this is inside the mine.
Pictures after a long day's drive.
Yeah, well, this is inside the miner's cabin.
Yeah, that's in the middle of the cabin. That's a little kitchen area.
Yeah, and it doesn't, it's funny about pictures. It really doesn't show you, it doesn't give you a full idea of how small it is, the dimensions.
Yeah. Ghost Adventures made it look much larger than what it is.
Yeah. And this place has been remodeled. It was apparently it was moved there. Is that correct, Carrie? If I remember right.
That one, I don't think it was.
Okay.
I think that's the original. The one that was moved was across the street.
So let's get Dave in here. So Dave, here's a picture of you with your camcorder filming the miner's cabin. Your first time in it.
Those two doors are two full bathrooms,
which is really weird.
Yeah, yeah, I think in terms of the miners cabin, I think you focused your equipment on the brewery lodge, and I focused mine on the miners cabin. We had about 8 audio different places.
Yeah, I had mine in the miners.
Yeah, we also had cameras, kind of internal and external, just kind of monitoring the shaft and monitoring the surrounding hillside. Because there are kind of legends of figures moving around at night. So we had cameras just monitoring continuously.
There was reports of seeing shadows of miners walking on the hillside, to so many things. Dory was actually in Rosie's room in the Gold Hill, and you guys were down at the mine. That is the room I stayed in. That is the so-called room where they heard all the voices. And if I'm not mistaken, in Ghost Adventures, they made it look like there's a little closet in there or something. I don't know. That's the whole room.
Yeah. Hey, Dave, you still can't see the pictures then?
Can I, Hale?
The what?
No, just can't see them. Just describe them for us, please.
Well, this is the back bedroom. We're looking at the back bedroom.
Yeah. And the back bedroom consisted of that bed, and at the foot of the bed, you'll see where I'm standing, and right beside me is a little dresser. And then there's a door that goes out, and that's it.
And there's a window, one little window.
Yeah.
And Dave, okay, so Carrie, and Dave, this is a question to both of you, because that's where a lot of the activity, like Carrie already mentioned, that's where they would hear voices and all this stuff happen. Now, that's not to say there's reports of throughout the miners' cabin stuff happening, but Carrie, did you experience anything in this room?
In this room, actually, no. I had cameras in there and audio. I think Dave had some stuff in there. I purposely locked myself in that room, kicked my husband out to the other side, and stayed in there by myself with everything in the dark, waiting for these voices. And I heard nothing, and I have severe insomnia. I slept like a freaking baby in there. I had some of the best night's sleep in there, but absolutely nothing happened in that room.
Dave, same question to you. You spent a couple nights in there. What happened?
Yeah, I was in that room on the second investigation. I think we did hear voices. We ran outside to see, just in case sound traveled from the hotel and that. We couldn't identify anyone, but that's really all that we heard. There was no. I think you had a Coda. You had something happened during an EVP session, but from memory. But yeah, there wasn't anything on the audio. There was nothing recorded in that back room.
The thing is too, is because it is so close to the actual hotel, up to a certain point, there is still quite a few people out at that bar or out on their balconies, and it does create light play. So you have to be careful with shadows and the noises. So that there was a lot of, up to a certain point, there was a lot of contamination from, but once that was shut down, it was really, in that room in particular, it was really quiet.
Yeah, and I think everyone parks their cars kind of nearby, so they were always passing, going to their cars and trucks and that. So yeah.
And there's a Tesla thing connected to it.
Yeah, a Tesla charger.
Wow.
So the one thing I'll mention that Dave was talking about, what happened to me, I was doing an EVP session. It was like 1 a.m. or something. And I had a REM pod. The REM pod, I got the chills and goosebumps and all that. And I felt like it's what every investigator at one point or another feels, right? You feel like, oh, I'm not alone. The REM pod goes off, and then I heard like some movement, and I swore, Dave, and that I heard like that's what I heard. Now, again, Dave and Carrie already explained there's contamination from the outside also. So
there also, in that parking lot, in that area, there was, show me stuffing my face with an Oreo.
No, everybody's
there were some power lines, and they did give off readings, so you had to be really careful as to where you were standing and that, because the power lines did give false readings.
Well, I want to point out, all three of you are eating Oreos, by the way.
And I don't like Oreos, but I was starving.
I was just starving hungry. Yeah.
Well, this was in the kitchen.
Yeah. You can see one of the bathrooms.
Now, real quick, I'll explain this. So on Dave's left, this is Dave's head right here, and on the left is the miner's cabin. There's a little door right here, and that's to the back bedroom. This is the Gold Hill Hotel and Saloon. And people park right back here and all through here. And it's not like, there's 100 people here or anything. There might be a half a dozen to a dozen at any given time.
Where where certain noises and contamination came from, certain sound like movement and even shadows, and that were the wild mustangs that come up. They created shadow play, and they created the sounds and that. And I think people forget to take that into consideration, because they come right up.
Yeah.
And they're big, and you get a few of them, they do make noises and create this. So it's like Dave said, and the same here, is that when you heard something, you had to go out and look. You had to check the surrounding and see what was place at that time. And the bar and that.
Wait, hold on. Go ahead.
Sorry, Carrie,
in ghost tours.
Go ahead, Dave.
Right. And I was just going to say, like, if you combine that with, it's like any investigation, if you're kind of expecting to see or hear something, your mind just kind of plays tricks. And I think that, combined with the external noise, if anybody has any encounters or anything happen in there, I think it's just a combination of both those, So
here's the thing, guys, is that the pictures we showed you, and the first time Dave, Carrie, and me together were there was 2015. I investigated a little bit there on 2015. Dave actually hooked up his CCTV cameras there. And for some reason, Dave put his audio in both your bathrooms, Carrie. I don't know why he did that.
Yeah, I refuse to listen to that.
The one bathroom might have been occupied, but yeah, no. Dave's correct, because the show feeds you this bits and pieces of information, and you don't see the whole compilation of it all. So yeah, you go in like, I'm like, okay, I'm going to lock myself in this room overnight and I'm going to hear these voices. And it was so quiet and peaceful in there. And then other areas that I found were more interesting than that.
Well, so here's the deal is because you and Dave had the most experience there in 2015, and obviously Carrie by far more than Dave. So um, I want to hear from both of you one at a time of and remember, let's focus on 2015, Dave. And
Yeah.
what was your impression of 2015? And then Carrie, what's yours? And because here's the deal, when something like this is on TV and you go there, that's in the back of your mind what they experience going, oh, the back
Yeah.
bedroom, X, Y, and Z,
Exactly.
and yeah, you that's all in the back of your mind, so you naturally put up equipment in those areas because you want to capture or validate what the claims are. And so I'm going to let you guys talk, but I think it's fair to say we were somewhat disappointed, and I think Carrie was somewhat disappointed, and I know Dave, I think you were also somewhat disappointed. Not that it was bad, because I'd go there again tomorrow, right? We all would, because it's a great place. The history is fantastic. Carrie mentioned wild horses, which are just amazing in the evening time. So I'm going to let you two speak. Dave, you go first, and then we'll let Carrie and kind of get an overall feel of what you think this place is. And if you think it is haunted or has activity, kind of give your thoughts on that. Okay. And
Yeah. So I spent a lot of time there, kind of when Carrie, if they went out, like for a meal or whatever, for some food, or Carrie and Bill went across to the brewery lodge, I would spend some time across there. Absolutely nothing. Even the audio, absolutely nothing. A lot of hype, I think, but I didn't pick up anything at all, and from audio or video.
I have to agree with that. I didn't pick up anything actually inside the miner's cabin. It was very misleading. I had been there prior, but to go in and actually set up equipment and everything, it's really, really small. To me, it was outside by the head frame and then over by that other shed that I found it more interesting in that. But inside, it's the actual miner's cabin. And Dave's right. You see this on TV. I'm still watching it on TV, and you can't, once you hear it, you can't get it out of your mind. So you know it's there.
Yeah.
I wanted to go, for myself, I just wanted to experience this. And if it's like they say, then great. But there was just nothing. And I just slept like a baby. And during the days and that, I wanted to be outside. I think we just lost Dave. Oh, there he is. I just wanted to be outside. I was drawn towards the head frame and down. So yeah, it was, I'd do it again, but it wasn't what I was hoping it would be.
Well, you know what I think on the second time, when me, Bob, and Cordell, Bob's another UK investigator. When we went the next time when we went, we spent a lot of time on the seats in the back, just kind of looking out onto the hills and that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was still nothing. I mean, Cordell slept with the light on when he was there, but that's understandable.
Yeah.
He obviously isn't there, is he?
Yeah, he's there. It's just,
Oh,
yeah, I don't, to me, the miner's cabin, I think everybody has to do it. It is, how do I say this politely? Groups are going and they know that there's stuff before they even capture it. Let's just say, for show purpose, but
Hey,
it really isn't. And it is a big party, miners cabin. Every time we go by, there's always groups of people in there partying and doing paranormal stuff. But
I do have to
Sorry,
Dave,
Carl,
wait
I
a
was
minute.
just gonna say,
Well, no,
yeah.
wait, stop, Dave. No, I was not the one sleeping with the light on. We'll tell that story later. Because little, probably the audience doesn't know this, Dave, but most people in the UK sleep with their lights on.
Oh yeah,
It's part
yeah,
of their DNA. They anyway.
I have to say, though, there are curious people that go up and try to look in at all times during the night.
yeah.
So, I mean,
Honestly,
in there, make sure I had made sure the windows were as blackened as I could, and eliminating as much from outside as I possibly could, including my husband on the other side.
So, Dave,
you know,
I interrupted you, so go ahead.
sorry, mate. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Getting a bit of feedback. Okay, no. So I think if you combine the hype with these crappy paranormal shows, with the kind of the expectation, if you combine the external noises, you can't fail but hear what you want to hear. But because we had a lot of stringent controls in place, and try to make it as sterile as we could. Yeah, absolutely nothing.
Hey, Carrie, I do want to ask because you and correct me if I'm wrong, because my memory could be a little off here, but it seems to me I remember you were more attracted to the head frame area and where the shaft is than you really were in the miner's cabin. Is that correct?
Oh yeah.
And
I
what
wanted to be like submersed right into it. I mean, I was hands touching everything, and just I was just, that's where I was drawn. But even then, there's so much natural contamination. I'm not even talking people, but just the wind and the debris and the tumbleweeds and all these different things that you really do, like Dave said, you have to go in and just take everything you've heard or that you are hoping is true, that you want to experience, and put that aside and have a blank slate. And it just wasn't the hype that everybody's making it. Not saying that the history is phenomenal. I love it. It's sad. And I'm not saying that there's not something, because I was feeling something, but I have nothing that I could base any real data off of, any real evidence.
and well, for the audience, we use this as our background, but that's the head frame right there, and it's literally out basically the front door of the miner's cabin. And so, Carrie, oh, there's tapping or something.
That might be me.
Yeah, there's tapping or
Okay,
something.
yeah, that's me.
Also, so Carrie, I kind of wanted to. I'm just showing the audience the head frame there. Let me. Anyway, so what was your attraction to the shaft and that whole area there? What were you feeling? I mean, compared to the actual cabin itself, because the cabin, um, Dave never really experienced anything or other than apparently something that he had to sleep with the light on still. So I don't know why that was, uh, but Carrie, because I remember going over there and we were there. I think it was the first night or the second night we were there. You kept wanting to be outside and next to the head frame. So what was going on with you out there?
Um, don't know. I don't know if it was because that's the actual shaft that collapsed. You know that just down below it, this tragedy happened, and that people are still down there. This all comes into visually too. You're seeing this head frame. You're seeing what's left of things, and you can't help but feel nostalgic about certain stuff. But to me, I was wanting or expecting, I wanted to see something outside more than inside. And I think that was just the natural day-to-day doings back then. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to go in and down. I kept wanting to push in past the safety fence there. And so it's hard to explain, but yeah, I was drawn. I mean, we were sitting outside at 2, 3 in the morning, just looking at the hillside. Dave had some cameras out that way. And so, I mean, when nothing's happening in the cabin, so I was just really drawn outside. If I'm not mistaken, I know a couple of you joined me out there for a bit. I think Dory, maybe Dave, I'm not sure. Can't remember. It's been a while, but I know we were all kind of hoping to see one of these miners walking a path out there, or, doing his job, and unfortunately, the miner's cabin is extremely small. The refrigerator made noises, your bathroom made noises. So
Yeah, it did. Dave. So Dave, and it sounds like we're getting a little bit of feedback, but that's okay. So the same question to you. Was there any place inside the miner's cabin that, like, this is where you spent most of your time for whatever reason?
No, Cordell. I mean, really, I was only there when Carrie and Bill were kind of elsewhere, because it was, we're always trying to keep it covered. I mean, Carrie was investigating it more. We were in the brewery lodge, and then when Carrie left, we kind of split up so we could always cover either location, both locations. No, I tried spending a lot of time in that back room, because that was the reported kind of that was the reported activity. But then you pick up a lot of external noise from people walking past all the time. So even the audios we had, the audio recorders we had in place, you were just picking up kind of people talking as they were parking their cars and just walking to the hotel. So yeah, it's I spent more time sitting at the dining room table, looking through the DVR and looking through all the different kind of external cameras we had.
Hey, Dave. So Dave can't see the picture I have up, but so this, so as Dave was talking, this picture actually fit really in. Dave's on the bed here, lying down. Uh, so as you were talking, Dave, we got a picture of you up lying down on the bed in the front room, and so I thought it was kind of funny.
That is actually from 17, because that was one of those couches that on or whatever they were. Billy stayed in the front room on that bed, and he ran audio and video, and he's investigated enough to know what to look for. And it was the same report. There was just nothing that couldn't be explained.
Yeah.
And I wanted to point out that one of Dave's CCTV cameras, this is it right here. And it's up on the chair pointing towards the kitchen and down the hall there. And yes, Carrie, this is from 2017. This is Dave.
So they remodeled a little bit. But so let me throw this out at Jim. I guess we're only talking about the 2015, but I think you guys can kind of put everything together. if someone who really doesn't know anything about the location and then all of a sudden hears these stories right before going in, do you think that that sets them up instantly?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
like, and I'm trying, well, Bob, let's just take Bob, because Bob, this was something new for him. It was the West, and then all of a sudden you're hearing these reports. So when Bob went in all fairness, he was about as virgin to it as you could be. So do you think that someone is just, it does affect someone who's new and doesn't know anything about it, and these sounds and that are very foreign, that this can cause people to say, oh yeah, there's definitely somebody
yeah,
there.
yeah. Honestly, Carrie, it's. I think it's just human nature. If it's even experienced investigators will still play off each other. And will probably still have that expectation to see or hear something, and how much that interferes with your kind of the investigation on the night. You're tired because it's through the middle of the night, it's dark, your mind will play tricks. I think
Yeah,
it absolutely
you
plays into things. Yeah,
definitely have to wait until about 2-ish in the morning before you actually get somewhat of a controlled um,
yeah,
atmosphere, but it's never completely controlled. So, and it's
yeah,
those small percentages that I think tend to mess with people. And then it's this great thing. Let's do a show and stick it out there. And
yeah. I mean, honestly, Carrie, if I always thought it was quite peaceful in that miners cabin. You know,
yeah, I
it
did.
just
I slept like a
yeah,
baby. I never sleep, but that was great night's sleep.
yeah.
So, so Cordell, I mean, okay, so going back for me, besides being outside, the one place that I did hear little bits of noises or movement seemed to be the middle area of the kitchen area. Um, but then again, I'm pretty much saying it was just contamination from other things, because there was no consistency that wasn't sounded like people outside or whatever. But Cordell, I mean, what was your view on?
Um, since we're talking about the 2015 investigation, I didn't spend too much time there. Um, the back room had for me, and I'm just speaking for me, the back room did have a different feel from the rest of the place. The rest of the place, honestly, when I was inside of it, just seemed like I was in a trailer park someplace, because that's what it reminded me of, is a half wide trailer in a trailer park. And there's a good shot of Dave's hand there.
You have to say, though, the back room was the darkest room.
Yeah.
It was the more isolated room out of the rest of it. So I think that also draws people back there. But the first time I ever went there, based off of seeing other certain shows, I was like, is this the same cabin? Because it's nothing like what they're presenting. It looked absolutely different than
Um,
what I was seeing.
well, what I will say, the reason I brought this picture up, Carrie, and I know Dave can't see it, but honestly, where I felt like there maybe was something going on activity wise, I felt more stuff outside over by this yellow jacket building.
On the other side of that were the wood, other
Right.
frames and stuff. Dory and I were glued back in there too.
Yeah, the headstock over to this mechanical building. The miner's cabin itself, I don't know. If my opinion is, if it's active, it's really low level activity. Now that contradicts guys. All it's like Ghost Adventures, and they went there twice, I think. Other groups have gone to the miners cabin, and they claim all this activity occurred. but we're talking at least 3 nights, right? Were we there 3 nights, guys, or 4 nights? I can't remember.
Oh, was it not 5 days, 4 nights?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For you guys,
Okay.
we moved on to another location, but um,
So
so I'm still watching shows making these claims. What I would like to see is a show that's going to go there, try to debunk everything. I want to see them go outside and look around or say, oh, yeah, there's people at the bar or on the balcony. I want them explaining all the possible contaminations to the viewers or whatever, and then, try to get something. And I don't think really there would be that much.
Dave, what's your opinion? I mean, your true opinion. Do you think? Because I think you had maybe some little things happen here and there, but they could be easily explained away, right?
Yeah, absolutely, Coyle. I think investigating. I think it gets to the stage where you want something to happen. And therefore, you know, you, you interpret things in that way, right? Yeah, I think from that location, it was absolutely, pardon the pun, it was dead. And I think anything we may have captured or even on the audio, we may have heard something. It was just, it was just, we just couldn't use it. I mean, it was. I think it was more wishful thinking than anything else.
Wishful thinking, and I'm just going to say, if someone's trying to do a show, if it's debunked, it doesn't sell. So, yeah, it's just wishful thinking. Honestly, I don't think trying to debunk like they should or admitting to that it is something natural. So if it was based off of what we've done, you're several times there, my several times there, I mean, and we did a show on it, besides seeing the pictures and saying, wow, that's cool, it'd be a boring show. Because there would be nothing to sit there and say, oh, wow, this happened. I'm not saying that it can't happen or it doesn't happen, but the times I've been there, times you guys have been there, it's just been, there would be like twiddling your thumbs the whole time on a show. So that's my view on it.
Dave, your turn.
Yeah, you know what? And I think that because I had an external audio facing the hotel just so I could correlate with kind of traffic, human traffic, we'll say, and I think some groups might not have that level. I'm not going to say discipline, but that level of kind of trying to make a kind of that sterile environment, or trying to get that kind of environment where you can determine what's real and what's possible activity. I think we did it as we do with all our investigations. We do a lot of work on that. We do a lot of work in making sure that it's as sterile as it can be. So anything we hear and see, has got is something which we possibly can't explain.
In all fairness, I've met many people who have gone there or are going there, and they had pretty much their storyline and their excitement already recorded, or it's
Decided.
like, it was already decided before the investigation. And then once they get in, it's like, oh yeah, they're taking things that other people reported and claiming it's like it's an absolute truth, and then they're basing things off of that. And I hate to say it happens, and like Dave said, they're not taking the time. And I think it comes down to and people can get mad at this, but they're just wanting to be the next Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters, or whatever. They want that TV show, that brief moment. Because go on, look at all of them. None of them they're all cookie cutters. There's nothing outside of those that shows the true environment, things that can be debunked. It doesn't sell. So if it doesn't sell, let's not put it in. And so that's my opinion on it. So I think there's a lot of false hype out there.
Now, here's what I do want to say this. We really hit this place hard. 2 different trips. We threw all kinds of equipment at it. You name it, we had it. And I had hours of audio in 2 different trips, guys, and maybe caught one thing out of, I don't know, I'm just guessing, probably well over 100 hours of audio.
Easy. I mean, Cordell, it must have been over 100 hours each trip, because we had, I mean, all the recorders were running continuously.
Yeah.
We just kept changing batteries. We must have recorded in real time the entire 5 days, each trip.
Yeah, and
with 8 recorders each or something.
Yeah, we had CCTV cameras both trips, and we'll talk later about the 2017 because it ties in, I guess, in some ways to the brewery lodge. Now, and here's
2017, but I've been other times, so
right.
Mine kind of ties in too. So.
Oh no, Carrie, and I want you to talk about your other trips because your whole opinion is based on all your trips, so they're all valid.
When it comes to Gold Hill and the Brewery Lodge and the Bullion House, which is the house next to him, I think the Brewery Lodge and the Bullion House absolutely tie together.
Yeah.
Right now, the past history doesn't, but for now. But the Gold Hill is kind of like this. Let's just say you have this ball and this is your paranormal. Everything good is in here. And then Gold Hill, the miners' cabin's way out here on the like a bullseye. It's way outside. It just I didn't have anything that could correlate with any reports.
Yeah, and I just want to point out to the audience, and that's why I mentioned all the equipment. We threw everything at it. We oops.
I think Dave's he's blocking his camera, or he's having camera.
He's got a quick minute. Dave's gonna disappear for just a minute. I'm gonna mute him. So it's just me and you right now, Carrie. No, and so that's why I mentioned we threw everything at it. We had female investigators, we had male investigators. And I'm mentioning that, Carrie, because, and maybe some of the audience who doesn't do this doesn't think about that, but female and male, they get different responses depending on what's there in the environment. But we threw everything at it. We had
it empty. I mean,
yeah, and so here's, before Dave gets back, because I was somewhat disappointed because we've done this for dozens of years and we've never failed. If a place has any type of activity on a regular basis, we've always captured something. And I guess that's what bothers me about this place is we hit it so hard over multiple investigations, and you've been there more times than I have. And it was like a desert. It was like a paranormal desert in some ways. Now, having said that, Carrie, and I'll let you comment, is there, to me, the outside to the west, this backside in the picture I'm showing, that's the west side, that attracted me also more than the inside. But go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's teams out there that have gone and they have debunked a lot of stuff, or they didn't have, and kudos to them. I'm not saying that there's ones who haven't. It's it's a fun place to go and to see, because there is history there. There is a tragedy there. Yeah, I'm wanting to be outside more than actually inside. But it is definitely, it hits all the check marks for something that would be exciting to tell people or to go do, but it's not, paranormal wise, it's not up there. History wise, sure, but paranormal wise, no.
Dave, what's your opinion of the miners' cabin?
Yeah, I mean, if anyone wants a break, get some peace and quiet. Yeah, the miners' cabin is the place.
You also have to take into consideration too, when people are investigating, are they investigating during the day? We don't know. They're not really showing if it's day or night, and you can block it out. We've known people block it out with black paper or trash bags or whatever. But what they failed to show you again is what is outside. And you do have the bar, the restaurant, you have the hotel, you've got the parking lot, you've got tours, paranormal tours going through almost every hour. You have during the day, people are walking around, but you also have the steam engine coming through. It goes certain ways, so the ground starts shaking and things start rumbling. So people might be catching this stuff during the day and present and say, "Oh yeah, listen to this." Okay, well, yeah, there's noises, but let's go see what's going on outside at that moment. Is it daytime? Is it nighttime? It all does make a difference on how you want to present it to people too. So,
So, any thoughts on that, Dave?
No, just absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. It's like I said, I think it's mainly, if people are going, they want to stay in a haunted house, we'll say. That start getting their mind worked up. That obviously contributes. They've got high expectations. You can guarantee they'll hear or see something because that's what they want to hear or see.
And unfortunately, if they're doing a show or wanting to do a show, one has to outdo the next, is what I'm seeing. It's like one has to outdo the next. So all these things are now happening and they're bigger and grandiose, so.
Well, and I agree with both of you, and I think historically it's a great place. Would I go back there? Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, personally, for me, I was disappointed. I wasn't disappointed in the structure or the history or the location. I was disappointed in the activity level. Now it could be that maybe they all went to Florida for vacation. I don't know, guys. But
it could be, and it could be around the anniversary things pick up. We wouldn't know unless we're there at that time. But like I said, from other groups or other people who've done shows that I know of and talked to, they pretty much got it all out before it actually happens.
yeah.
So the people are phenomenal. I'm just talking about Gold Hill right now. They're super nice people. They're not misleading. They'll when I talked to them, they just said what they knew. They're not misleading in the least bit. It's the I totally busted a tour group out there for the paranormal. They wanted me out because everything they were saying I had an explanation for, but go because you want to see it. Go to see the history, the view, the Mustangs. That's all well worth it. But if you're going for the paranormal, like Dave and I have said in Cordell, go in with a blank slate and don't be upset if something doesn't happen. It doesn't mean that there's nothing there. It just means it's just not happening right then and there.
The here's the interesting thing. I think it was in 2018. It was Gold Hill, the whole bunch of the cabins and the saloon and stuff were up for
Sold it.
sale.
Yeah.
They were up for sale. I never checked back. I don't know if it was ever sold to anybody else, if there's new owners.
I believe it was. So for now, if you want to get the brewery lodge, you have to stay 2 nights. You can't rent it for 1 night. It's got to be 2 nights. Which, if you're going to do this, you need at least 2 nights. The miner's cabin's 2 nights. So yeah, if you're going to go do a paranormal, 2-3 nights easily, and of those nights, you might get 1 or 2 things, or you might get. As we know, across the street, yeah, that was a heck of a lot more going on than the actual
Well,
Gold Hill.
well, on another broadcast, we'll talk about the brewery lodge. So here's the thing. So I think it's only fair because I'm just curious. So humor me, guys. I want you guys to give this 2 ratings. 1 as a paranormal rating, 0 to 10, 10 being the best, right? And then just fun factor, let's call it fun factor, that
Vacation.
yeah, it was just a blast seeing this in the history, 0 to 10. So 2 different ratings. So let's do one at a time. Dave, your paranormal rating of the miner's cabin.
Yeah, I would give it a 1 or a 2 because I think you're always waiting expectantly, you know.
Well,
I mean, I had absolutely 0 happen, but I mean, you know, it's not to say that things couldn't happen there, but I think a 1 or a 2 because sitting outside and looking into the hills at night, I mean, yes, your imagination's working overtime. But you know, it wouldn't surprise you to see people walking around there in the dead of night, huh? You know, old miners. So I would give it a from a paranormal experience. I would give it a 1.
okay. Carrie, what's your paranormal rating? Just off the cuff.
Off the cuff, I'm in agreement with Dave. I would give it a 2, and that is just because there is so much contamination, so much going on. And the reason I'm really giving it a 2 is because I'm more intrigued with what's outside. Like Dave said, I wanted to see a miner walk by or something. Or we heard noises coming from there, but we couldn't say it was paranormal, animals, whatever. But knowing the history that at that location this tragedy happened, I believe there is possibilities that paranormal stuff can happen. Did we get it anytime we went? No. So I'm going to give it a 2. That's being nice. That's strictly just because of what's outside, not what's in the cabin.
Mine's real easy. I'm going to give it a 3 for the overall miner's cabin, and 50 yards to the west and to the south. I'll give it a 3. And maybe I'm being a little overly generous. I don't know. So let's move on. Dave, so just for having fun, great place to go.
Is
So
it Lisa or Katie? I see Dave.
It's just my son Ben. He's bringing us
Oh,
a cup of tea.
Ben. Hi, Ben.
did he say he brought him tea?
Yeah, where's my tea?
Tea. Yeah, where's mine? I miss your tea, Dave. When you and those that,
Dave always brought the best tea.
well, those that don't know, yeah,
beautiful tea.
Mm-hmm.
Dave used to live in the States for about 7-8 years, 7.5 years, something like that. Anyway,
yeah, 8 years, yeah, great.
So Dave, so as a fun factor, and you recommend, there's Dave's hand.
I'm gonna
Those that read
charge it
palm,
up here. It's
those that read palms can give Dave a palm reading.
How many kids? You're
face
like,
palm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
So
no. Well, so
from
just fun
a
factor. You
fun
know,
factor. If you combine that, I mean, great hotel, great bar, good food. The brewery lodge is opposite, and that is a different story.
which we'll get into.
And
But
that's
if you combine that with just it's got a silver mine in history. I mean, I think we immersed ourselves in the history. We listened to like historical podcasts on the drive. You know, we didn't get to do the train journey. That was like a historical rail track there.
yeah, I've done it several times.
But we did go into Virginia City numerous occasions. If you combine, because it's so close to Virginia City, and it's such a historic. I mean, any history buffs would love it. They would absolutely love Gold Hill itself. I would give it an 8 because just of it's kind of a central hub for a heck of a lot of great locations, historical locations. Yeah.
Carrie, your turn. Fun factor and just enjoyability, I guess.
Well, real quick, I got to add something to what Dave had said. History-wise, guys, go beyond what you're hearing. Dig yourself. It's easy to say this happened in history, and over time, it's like the fish. It gets bigger as the story's told. It gets distorted. So do your own research. Dig in. It doesn't matter if you find exactly what's been told, great. If you find something that, hey, that's not quite the story that I heard, I mean, that's fantastic. So get that basis right there before going in to do the paranormal. For fun-wise, just speaking of Gold Hill in itself, not including Virginia City, I think Dave and I are on the same wavelength right now. I'd say 7 to 8 because walking the area is great. You do kind of feel at certain times beyond the miner's cabin, you're kind of lost in history. The Gold Hill Cemetery is great. You got Brewery Lodge, the Bullion House, and then just like 2-3 houses down, you got the Lynch House, you got the mill. So just based on Gold Hill, 7 to 8. But I like that. I like that quiet, low line historical stuff. It's not, don't go there thinking, oh, I'm going to go do shopping for gifts or, there's one bar, it kind of sits, it's isolated. So for me, 7 to 8. Great people. Great people.
I give it probably an 8.5, and that's just for
we're doing points, 0.5s. You just have to be different, don't you?
Yes,
exactly.
Well, the 0.5 was the beer.
The Mustangs.
We were there,
cool.
and
cool beer.
We were there in the middle of July, and it was hot as snot. And when we first got there, we had traveled 9 hours. We went and had a couple cold beers, all of us, and it was a great time. We spent longer than I thought.
Bill up on the ceiling.
Well, we spent longer at the bar than I intended, and after a few beers, it's like 100 degrees out. And here's the thing that none of us mentioned. I gotta say this is that miner's cabin was 135 degrees inside, and it was hot as crap.
Yeah, it was.
And they have these little air conditioners. You see one in the picture, Carrie, window air conditioner.
Yeah,
but it really,
if you're investigating.
Well, it really didn't do much, and you're absolutely right, Dave.
You can run them.
Yeah, if you're investigating, you got audio running, because these window air conditioners, like in the brewery lodge, Dave, they're loud as crap. You can't. It's a waste of audio trying to record anything. And oh my God, they got hot in there. Anyway, my point, I give it the 8.5, because of the beer. And when we got back, we got to the brewery lodge, and me and Dave were like, well, we got to set up all this equipment and CCTV cameras. that was a really hard first hour because I had a lot of beer in me at that point, and it was so hot.
Yeah.
So anyway, I give it an 8.5. The history's fantastic.
So real quick, I gotta say something because I gotta take off here. We're gonna talk about Virginia City another time.
Yes.
I've got a lot of friends there and locations that I've investigated. We'll talk about Brewery Lodge, Bullion House, but I'm getting ready to go to the Harkness Hotel, which was an old bank. It's been done. Real quick, Dave, happy belated birthday. It was just a couple days ago. Cordell, happy belated birthday. Was it the 16th and the 22nd? Are you the 16th?
31 years old. It's great.
Yeah, and Dave 31, Cordell's 32. I'm heading up to Idaho. It's my husband's birthday tomorrow, so nothing like going to investigate a place for someone else's birthday. But so I'm gonna just take off and leave you guys to talk. But Dave, love seeing you. Glad we did this, and I guess Tuesday night, Cordell.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll be doing our Facebook.
Journey Curry.
All right. Thanks. I might do a Facebook thing. I don't know. All right. Love you guys. Thanks.
Yeah, do one.
Carrie.
Okay. I will.
Yeah.
Right.
See you, Carrie. Thanks a
Bye.
lot. So Dave, it's me and you. Yeah, it's an interesting place, and I want everybody to know that since this is our first broadcast on YouTube as kind of this talk show, right now we want to delve into some of these investigations. And Dave, here's the horrible thing. This is why I picked the miner's cabin for the first broadcast, is because it's the only place I don't have evidence to show. I don't. So
Cordell's the same here. I mean, and I still, and this is my fault, because we used to investigate every weekend, used to get a couple of 100 hours every weekend. You listen to it in real time, you watch it in real time. I think I still haven't watched the external cameras for the hillsides on that place since 2015.
yeah.
So that's So that's I've got a bit of a backlog, we'll say. In fact, I think I worked out if I started watching it now, I'd finish in about 5 years' time, full time. So hopefully some more lockdowns will help that.
Well, and I wanted to mention that, Dave. I've gone through all my minor stuff, and I'm about 6 hours away of CCTV camera footage of the brewery lodge, finishing both investigations up at the brewery lodge. So I'm really close, and the brewery lodge might take 2 shows to do because
it was.
Go ahead.
No, sorry, I was just going to say that it's out of all the locations up there, the brewery lodge has probably more unexplainable events or activity that we couldn't pinpoint. There was a lot of visual, audio. I mean, that'll be an interesting show.
Carrie just popped in. Do you see her message, Dave?
No.
Carrie says, I have more to review as well. Great talk. So that's from Carrie there. And okay. Yes, Carrie, great talk. And no, this, and honestly, Dave, this is why 100%, and this is for the audience too, that I picked the miner's cabin, because, we just lost Dave's video for some reason. Can you still, there it comes. It's somewhat back. Dave's phone is looking at.
Sorry, mate.
What happened, Dave? There you are.
Just paranormal activity, mate.
So I picked the miner's cabin, like I said, because I was disappointed as far as the activity. Hundreds of hours of audio, nothing. I captured 2 things that are, and I'm not gonna play it because it's so horrible. But it's just, I think, Dave, you walk into the miner's cabin and there's a that's it. I mean, and that's all I captured out of just dozens and dozens of hours. So I wanted to do
Was it
this.
after the bar?
It was what?
Was Bob there at the time, or
Yeah, Bob was there.
okay, that probably explains it.
Well, it could be, but no. So I was disappointed on the paranormal realm. And for those out there that been to the miner's cabin and had a lot of stuff, we're not saying it's not active. We're just, all we can do is voice what we captured and what our experience was. And it really didn't meet our expectations at all. Go ahead,
You
Dave.
know what, Cole? I think it's I think in terms of these shows, I think it is ideal if anyone is visiting. I mean, and we'll do shows about every investigation we've done, Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, etc. You know, use it as source material if need be. I mean, or use it to correlate similar encounters or activity which you've witnessed. But yeah, I mean, minus cabin, nothing. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm replying to Carrie, matter of fact, right now. Yeah, and so I wanted to do it because this is a famous location. Now, since this is our first broadcast on YouTube doing this type of a format, a talk show, so just a heads up to everybody. To start out with, this is what we thought we would do. We have a Facebook one that we just kind of do general paranormal discussions. We do talk about locations occasionally, and excuse me, we play evidence. But I thought what we would try on this one, Dave, is just to concentrate on individual investigations, kind of do a deep dive. And unfortunately, again, why I picked this one to do the first show is because we didn't capture anything. And when you don't have any activity and you do a paranormal talk show about this type of a location, you really can't do a deep dive because there's nothing to dive deep on as far as the paranormal, right? I mean,
Yeah, but you know what, Cole? It comes with the territory, doesn't it? It's how many times have we been investigating, and it's been dead.
no
You know,
pun intended.
yeah. It does just come with the territory. It isn't like TV. It's just kind of taking measurements, gathering data, and analyzing data.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and we're gonna, and it might even be the next show that will within the next 3 shows, Dave, we'll do the Brewery Lodge, at least one of the investigations. We were there, the 2015 one. We
2015.
did,
Okay.
yeah, we did capture a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
We had stuff happen. Dave had stuff happen. It was an interesting investigation. And Virginia City is a great place, tons of history, which we'll do a show on. Carrie's investigated and been there in multiple more places than I have in Virginia City. But we also we have some other investigations we'll talk about. And if people want to hear topics, Dave, we'll all, I think we'll all be happy to have a show about certain topics, and we can even do stuff on equipment. Don't want to
Yeah.
bore too many people. We all have our opinion on certain equipment, right, Dave? Like
Absolutely.
SB7s. Yeah, we're very opinionated. Carrie has some of her favorite equipment. I have my favorite equipment. Dave has his. But the reality is, when it's all said and done, Dave, and this goes to Carrie too, we all know that ourselves and audio are the two best pieces of equipment. Is you and an audio recorder. or a camcorder. So, what's your opinion on the overall equipment state of the paranormal with all this inundation of all kinds of lights that flash and bells that go off, Dave?
Yeah, you know what? It's great to see innovation. You know, it's great to see people applying different technologies to whatever they're trying to find. I'm probably a bit more old-fashioned when it comes to, I use instrumentation to measure the environment, and not so much to measure. What are they saying that ghosts give off EMF? Great. I mean, I'm not sure who came up with that, but never mind. I use EMF recorders to try to find energy sources. Like in the try to find cable runs, etc., etc. So yeah, it's I think from an equipment point of view is I am more reliant upon audio recorders because we timestamp, we log direction, we log everything.
But they're proven.
You
They're
know,
proven.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it is. We're still kind of maybe that's for a separate show. I mean, the audio
Oh, it is.
recorders because there are different types and different. But I think overall, um, you use yourself, you use your senses, and even though you can't trust your senses at times, because sometimes you could be tired, you could be expecting to see something, and then you see something. It's human nature. But I
Yeah.
think that combined with if you could support it with audio, video recording equipment, even the kind of those microphones we've been using in terms of bringing in all sound sources into one location. I mean, we've had some very good success with audio, different types of audio. Um, yeah, I think all these kind of Ovuluses and SB, whatever's they're called, yeah, that's not for me.
Well, and the reason I even mention equipment is what I stated earlier, Dave, is we threw a lot of equipment at the miners' cabin, a lot of
We did,
equipment,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, absolutely.
yeah, and
Yeah, I mean, it must like I'm saying, 5 days of recording, real time, kind of timed battery swaps and things, and then time stamping. Yeah, I mean, we must have. Man, I think I had 10 audio devices with me. We we had the DVR with probably 6 to 8 cameras in real time, just recording continuously. We had the handhelds. I mean, there must have been so much. I would hate to think how many hours of data
no,
we got.
yeah, well, that therein lies the dilemma is that it's data is wonderful and you need to collect as much data as possible, but the data is only good if you can get to it and use it, right? If you can,
Yeah,
and so that's the whole key is, and it's funny. I have to mention this because you just rambled off all this equipment that we threw at the miner's cabin and Carrie threw her equipment and I threw
yeah.
mine. So it was just massive amount of audio and cameras and all kinds of stuff. Um, it's because the what you see on YouTube and stuff, and even on the TV shows now, a lot of them don't use a lot of standalone audio where they put audio in each room and all this. They'll do these what they call EVP bursts, right? And we do that too. An EVP burst where you just turn on an audio, you have a 5-minute EVP session, and that's it. And there's so much people are missing, but I get why they do it, Dave, because that's real easy to review, right? You can review it in real time and hear it. But if you got 100 hours of audio for an 8-hour investigation, a lot of people
But it's
struggle.
interesting. I mean, how much have we picked up from fixed audio? We've picked up so much. We can also correlate. You can correlate kind of distance and everything. I mean,
Direct.
Yeah, absolutely. We direction and kind of distance you can gauge if it was far away, close, and therefore you kind of correlate that with the handhelds when you're walking around doing sessions and things. I mean, it's yeah, we've recorded all sorts on fixed audio, which we wouldn't have had if we had to just walk around with an audio in our hand. Yeah,
Yeah, and well, that's why I mention it because again, associating that with the miners cabin, we had fixed audio everywhere. And but I just see the trend. There's a trend that they don't put a lot of audio out. They just do these burst sessions going, oh, I'm going to the basement. I'm going to do a 5 minute burst session. Then they go listen to it which is great because we do it. Matter of fact, I encourage anybody to do these 5 minute bursts, then go back to base camp and listen to see if you caught anything. But I am 100% sold. You have to have fixed audio. You got to have it in different directions in all the locations at a place. And Dave, one last thing is that the miners cabins are perfect. You can get away with having like 3 audio recorders inside.
yeah, I know. It's yeah. I mean, an audio device facing the kitchen area can cover everything, really. Yeah, from the doorway,
Yeah.
so you could have one facing that way, one facing the other way. Yeah, I mean, you could probably cover it with 3 audio. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and maybe 4, one in the bathroom, right? Just joking, just joking. Uh
But Corel, just like on that point about fixed, and I know we'll cover audio at a different time, and obviously let the viewers listen to some of the EVPs we've captured. But I think how many times have we had audio in a we'll say an attic or a basement or in a location, and then when we've been traveling to the area, you can hear us climbing up the stairs, or you can hear us kind of approaching the area. How many times have we had responses then and there saying kind of, here they come, or they're coming, let's get out of here? I mean, all these,
yeah.
people wouldn't really capture that if they didn't have the fixed audio in these different areas, which you then visited.
Well, I think audio is so critical, and as soon as you enter a place, turn on some audio, and it should be the last thing you turn off when you leave the place. It's not the lights. The last thing you turn off is your audio recorder, right? Have one running as you pack
Which is a
up.
great point. I mean, how many times have we kind of opened a door to an investigation and we've heard things like, "Who are you?"
Hello.
"Hello, yeah, yeah." Uh,
Yeah, hello, goodbye. Yeah, and to wrap up this show because let's see what time, because it's funny because I haven't really set a time for this. We're going on an hour and 30 minutes here. Here in a few minutes it'll be an hour 30, and that's probably a good length of time, don't you think, Dave, for a show?
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
You know
yeah.
what? Especially a show when there's no evidence.
Well, yeah, I feel bad because but I think it emphasizes the point, and it's why I wanted to do this one on this kickoff broadcast, is that it's okay to investigate places and nothing happens because um, you never know, and you might capture something, and there's some discussion we can have, me, you, and Carrie later on a show because because it also brings up a thing about um, do we ourselves initiate the activity, and do we that there's a whole show there, right, Dave? A whole
Yeah,
talking point,
yeah,
because activity seems to occur when we're present but not when we're or very little when we're not. So that's another whole talking point. But I wanted to mention, Dave, we'll do the brewery lodge, and we'll touch on the 2017 miners investigation. Again, it's the same story. There's not much to tell, a few minutes, because nothing really happened on the 2017 miners. Um, and but we have the Brewery Lodge, which was 2 investigations. One, Carrie was there, Dory was there. And then we had a 2017 one, 4 nights, 5 days each one. So yeah, 8 nights worth. We have a lot of stuff. And the Brewery Lodge, I grew to really like the Brewery Lodge, Dave. I actually kind of love the Brewery Lodge. What's your opinion of it?
Yeah, I would go back anytime. Brewery
Yeah,
Lodge.
and Carrie's gonna get some history on the Brewery Lodge. Um, we have a little bit of it documented in our application member app, but the Brewery Lodge was fantastic. And so we're gonna wrap this up. Hold on a second. Dave, tell us about Scotland real quick.
In what way? Yeah.
Well, Scotland, what are some of the places you're hoping to go to soon as the lockdown and you guys in Scotland and the UK can start investigating?
Yes, Scotland has. I think I don't believe there's any paranormal groups in Scotland. There may be kind of Edinburgh, Glasgow, kind of the larger cities. I'm kind of really up northwest,
No.
which is it's probably it's pretty close to Loch Ness, which has got its own history and its own kind of Nessie sightings and what have you. But there's just so much, Corel. But my thoughts on this. You find this phenomena anywhere. Any
Yeah.
house, new or old. So some of the things we look at is castles. But castles, not so much activity. We'll say homes, pubs, bars, where people frequent. We have got a few. One of the external ones, which is kind of the Isle of the Dead, Alien Donnan, not Alien Donnan, Alien Monday, I should say. Sorry. But yeah, we've some of the kind of the hunting lodges and things aren't open anymore. They're pretty decrepit.
Well, let me ask you
Yeah,
this. Go
it's
ahead.
just a blend, Cordell. It's a mixed. I mean, we've got lots and lots of battlefields up here. If you want to grab a tent and camp in the middle of the night on the anniversary, see what happens.
Well,
So yeah, that's just all sorts.
well, that's what I was going to ask, Dave. Is do you guys plan on doing? Because there's so much history where you're at, the UK in general. You literally probably can't go 10 feet off of a road without being in what used to be a town, a village, or a battlefield, or an old cemetery that you don't even know if you're walking on dead people half the time, right? There's been so much
Yeah,
activity there.
well, I mean, what I could do, Cordell, is I could summarize in a show. I could because there's one location where, well, probably 2 locations up here, which have been pretty, which have been very interesting, very interesting.
Well, we're looking forward to that, and so I'd love for you to put something together on some of those locations, and we can talk about it. You can send me some of the information you have and photos that we can
Yeah, we'll
show
do.
the audience and stuff. And we'd also, so since this is our first broadcast, we're gonna. So here's the deal, guys. We're gonna try to do one broadcast a week. There'll be probably times that we won't broadcast because we're on an investigation or something's happened. Just life in general. But we're gonna try, four broadcasts a month if we can, and we're gonna since we got the miners cabin more or less out of the way, Dave. Hopefully, from this point forward, we'll be able to display some evidence and stuff because I can't think of too many other locations we've done where we didn't capture something. Honestly, and we have some
Yeah,
really good evidence, some really, really good evidence out there. But anyway, so Carrie had to leave early. It's her husband's birthday. They're on their way to Idaho. So wish you guys the best and stay safe. And Dave, how's the family doing? Everybody okay?
Yeah, everybody's doing good, thanks.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, Dave. Well, I appreciate it, and it's love technology. Here you are in real time in Scotland, and here I am in Salt Lake City, Utah, and it's been great, man. Uh, go
Man,
ahead.
it's always good to talk. Always
Yeah,
good to talk.
yeah. No, and me and Dave try to talk once in a while, and anyway, I hope people enjoy this that watch it. If you have any questions, if you'd like to hear us talk about stuff, we have real time chat too. So when we do the live broadcast, you'll be able to put in the chat and we'll see it in real time. And I'm hoping you'll be excited to see some of the stuff we'll show. And we're going to try to break down some investigations. Like I said, we kind of a deep dive in some of the investigations. Minor Lodge, that's as deep as we could go because there really wasn't much else. There
Yeah.
wasn't anywhere to go with it other than what we told you
Yeah.
guys. I would go there again just because it was a fun time, but my expectations would probably be about zero, to be honest. What about you, Dave?
Yeah, exactly
Yeah,
the same. Zero.
yeah. All right. Well, we're going to end this broadcast, and from everybody at Paranormal Pulse, and I'm going to say good night, goodbye for Carrie. Carrie, um, she'll be on the next one, and we lost Dave right when we were supposed to say goodbye. Are you there, Dave? I was just talking up technology and Dave just died. So anyway, thanks everyone. And we don't script anything, and I don't plan on really script anything other than maybe we'll talk about X, Y, and Z investigation. Oh, there's Dave. Uh, so yeah, we don't script anything. And actually, Dave and Carrie found out what we were going to talk about literally like 3 minutes before we went live. So
Yeah.
can
It's heavy snow here, so I'm having to struggle with the wireless.
yeah, okay. So
Can
say
you hear me?
goodnight, Dave.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Say goodnight, Dave.
Yeah. Good night, everybody,
Say
and
yeah.
we'll
There you
speak
go.
soon.
Yeah. Good night, Dave,
Right.
and good night,
Cheers.
everybody. And thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you next week.